Welcome to my channel Limelight Leaks. Please share and subscribe and hit the bell icon for latest updates. Two car shops in Texas do things in totally different ways. One shop builds big, tall trucks for wild customers. It's called Texas Metal. The other shop takes old, broken cars from barns and makes them beautiful again. That's Iron Resurrection. But which shop is really the best in Texas? Texas has two of the most famous custom car shops in America, Texas Metal and Iron Resurrection. Both were started in Texas, and both became famous on TV shows. But they work in completely opposite ways. One tries to shock people. The other puts love into their work. One lifts trucks way up high. The other brings old, rusty cars back to life that most people would just walk past. In Texas, where people love cars like a religion, fans pick sides between these two teams. On one side is Texas Metal in Houston. They do crazy metal work. Think of trucks that can go up and down with air, huge wheels, bright paint jobs, and cars that everyone stares at even when they're parked. Bill Carlton leads this team, and they don't just change cars. They go completely crazy on purpose. If it's wild, loud, and impossible to miss, it probably came from their shop. They've built monster cars for big car shows and lowered Cadillacs that don't make sense. Thanks to HBO Max, they became famous for going over the top with car changes. Now, let's talk about Iron Resurrection in Johnson City. Joe Martin and his close team don't follow what's popular. They look for meaning. Their shop goes through old barns, finds forgotten classic cars, and turns rust into rolling artwork. The TV show is less about showing off and more about feelings. Every car build tells a story. Every episode feels personal. And the cars don't yell for attention. They quietly show their history. Two shops, one state, totally different paths. But only one question matters. Who really runs Texas? Look through any internet discussion or car website, and you can see people are split. On one side, Texas Metal fans love the big show, the lifted trucks, the crazy paint jobs, the bold attitude of their builds. One person writes, "Nobody does it bigger." But right under that, someone else fights back. Yeah, but how long do those builds really last? And that's the main problem. Texas Metal builds cars for show, for making a big impact, for customers who want to cause a scene. But some fans say this comes at the cost of real skill and quality work. Over at Iron Resurrection, things are different. The builds are quieter, cleaner, and more careful. On websites, fans use words like heart, soul, and real. They talk less about how powerful the engine is and more about saving old cars. Joe Martin's team doesn't just fix cars. They respect the original story behind each car. This way of thinking has earned them something even shinier than chrome: respect from other car lovers. Facebook fan pages show even more. Texas Metal followers love the energy, the craziness, and the expensive changes. But complaints show up too. Rushed work, angry customers, and TV episodes that focus more on drama than details. Meanwhile, Iron Resurrection fans often say how nice it is to see a team that doesn't take shortcuts, doesn't chase trends, and doesn't need to be loud to be heard. And so the line is drawn. Flash versus skill, big show versus soul. But which way of thinking will last longer? If you walk into extensive metal works, you'll hear grinders making sparks, air compressors making noise, and loud music shaking toolboxes. It's a fast-moving machine. Bill Carlton runs his team like an army. Quick instructions, last-minute customer requests, and trucks that come out looking more like show cars than everyday drivers. Function meets style, but style usually wins. For Texas Metal, the goal is impact. If you don't make people look, why even try? Now cross the state to Johnson City, where Iron Resurrection lives by different rules. In Joe Martin's world, the story matters just as much as the car specs. When they pull a rusty 1950s Ford from a field, they don't see junk. They see potential. They spend weeks reshaping metal panels by hand, finding rare parts, and even making badges that haven't existed for decades. The final product isn't just a car. It's a comeback story. Bill Carlton's customers often walk in with bold ideas. Chop tops, hydraulic lifts, $20,000 paint jobs. Joe Martin's crew digs into the past, trying to find a car's soul, not cover it up. It's custom culture versus craftsmanship culture. And neither is wrong. But they're not even close to the same. So when it comes to creativity, which is harder? Building something loud from nothing or bringing something forgotten back to life with care? Watch an episode of Texas Metal, and you'll see sparks flying, literally, and in arguments. The shop is like a circus of talent, tension, and controlled chaos. Guys rush to meet deadlines. Parts arrive late. Tempers get hot. And decisions get made quickly. It's not polished, and that's part of what people like. You feel like you're watching a garage that's barely keeping it together, but still pulling off amazing things. The drama is real. The energy never stops. But over at Iron Resurrection, the shop culture plays out like a quiet orchestra. Joe Martin leads with calm focus, and his crew follows. Jokes happen, sure there's pressure of course, but it's not chaos. It's controlled skill work. Amanda Martin handles the business stuff like a general, while guys like Jason and Shorty bring decades of solid experience to every frame, weld, and paint coat. It's the kind of place where nobody's yelling orders, because everyone already knows what needs to be done. And here's the crazy part. Both shops get the job done. Both shops make incredible builds, but the energy behind them couldn't be more different. Texas Metal moves like a wildfire. Iron Resurrection moves like a heartbeat. So ask yourself, if you had one dream build and one chance to get it right, which shop's feeling would you trust more? Business at Texas Metal is a fast-moving freight train. Customers come from across the country. Athletes, internet stars, oil-rich people with wild ideas and deep pockets. Extensive Metalworks does well with walk-ins, bold demands, and quick turnarounds. They can take a basic truck and turn it into a slammed, lifted, wrapped showpiece in record time. That kind of speed gets attention, but it also comes with risk. When you build that fast, there's no room for mistakes. Yet somehow, mistakes still happen. In contrast, Iron Resurrection rarely deals with random customers walking through the front door. Their builds start with a phone call from someone who found a 1967 Impala in a barn or a car that's been sitting in a family for 40 years. There's history behind these rides. Emotion. Often Joe and Amanda Martin are the ones finding the car, then reaching out to owners who never thought their rust bucket could be reborn. It's not a business plan, it's a mission. Texas Metal does well with volume and big shows. Iron Resurrection does well with closeness and detail. One takes 10 projects at once. The other commits to a few, knowing they'll take months. That means fewer episodes, fewer reveals, but more connection. Every car feels personal. Every delivery moment hits harder. But when things don't go as planned, and they rarely do, the differences in how these shops handle crisis says everything about what they believe in. At Texas Metal, pressure isn't unusual. It's just how things are. When a famous customer demands a lift kit, custom wheels, a wrap, and a brand new interior in under 3 weeks, the crew doesn't panic. They just move. But that speed sometimes leads to cutting corners. And fans online haven't been quiet about calling it out. A few customers have even said they're frustrated. Suspensions that didn't ride right, paint details that missed the mark, or builds that looked great but didn't work well on the road. Inside discussion groups and YouTube comment sections, there are whispers. That truck looked rushed. Too much style, not enough substance. It doesn't mean the work is bad. It just means the pressure shows. Meanwhile, Iron Resurrection faces its own kind of crisis, rust, rot, and mystery. Every build starts with uncertainty, frames falling apart, panels eaten through, parts no longer made. And while that kind of restoration takes time, the payoff is often sweeter. Fans watch as the team solves impossible problems, makes the unmakeable, and somehow delivers a finished product that feels like resurrection in the truest sense. One shop battles deadlines, the other battles time itself. But no matter the pressure, a garage is only as good as the people in it. And what these crews say behind the scenes, that's where the truth really lives. Step inside either shop and you'll find pride. But the tone of that pride couldn't be more different. At Iron Resurrection, the team is tight. Joe Martin isn't the kind of leader who yells across the shop floor. He leads with respect. Amanda keeps things on track. Jason is a metal whisperer. Shorty's paint jobs are legendary. The whole crew works like a family. Not perfect, but deeply connected. You hear it in how they talk about each other. You see it in how they push through 10-hour days without snapping. There's no TV character act here. What you see is who they are. On the Texas metal side, you feel the intensity. Bill Carlton runs a tight operation, but it's a different kind of heat. There's energy, swagger, pressure, and for some that works. But fans and former workers have hinted at turnover, burnout, and builds that felt more like production schedules than passion projects. Critics say the show focuses too much on showing off, not enough on the crew's voices. It's not that the Texas metal team isn't talented. They are. But when a shop becomes a brand, something gets lost. And for some, that loss shows in the silence between the camera cuts. So which matters more? The quality of the builds or the character of the builders behind them? Texas isn't just a place, it's a character. And both Texas Metal and Iron Resurrection represent two very different faces of that identity. Texas Metal bleeds Houston. Big money, big attitude, and bold statements. The shop draws from the same culture that created slab cars, candy paint, and trunk-popping sound systems. Extensive Metal Works builds for a city that celebrates excess. Customers walk in with iced-out grills, gold watches, and dreams of 30-inch wheels with suicide doors. The trucks that roll out of Bill Carlton's shop don't just drive, they show off. Now head northwest to Johnson City. That's hill country. Rural roads, old barns, and small-town values. And it shows in the way Iron Resurrection works. Joe Martin and his team don't just restore cars, they restore memories. They rescue forgotten relics from garages, fields, and auctions, then bring them back with respect. The cars aren't just for show. They're for storytelling. They're rolling time capsules built with heart, not hashtags. In many ways, these two shops mirror the cultural split within Texas itself. One side embraces modern muscle, showmanship, and power. The other leans into tradition, legacy, and craft. Neither is wrong. Both are Texas, and each has its tribe. But when it comes to real loyalty, who do the people of Texas stand behind and why? The answer might surprise you. The comment sections don't lie. Car shows don't lie. And when you walk through a Texas meetup, you'll see the divide up close. Massive lifted trucks with LED halos, air ride suspension, and custom grills. That's Texas Metal's crowd. Flashy, proud, loud. These fans respect the grind and love a vehicle that turns heads before it even moves. Then there's the Iron Resurrection camp. Vintage Chevys, rare Pontiacs, restored classics, with subtle details only a true gearhead would notice. These fans care about the story behind the steel. They don't want viral builds. They want timeless ones. For them, it's about honoring the past, not outshining the next guy. And the wild part, most fans respect both. Even the loudest critics of one shop admit the other does what it does incredibly well. Because at the core of Texas car culture is a shared obsession, making something yours. Whether you're lifting a Silverado 5 feet off the ground or reviving a rusty Bel Air, it all comes down to love of the build. The fans choose what speaks to them. But there's no universal winner. That's not how Texas works. Here, individuality is the culture. So maybe the question was never who's better. Maybe it's why does Texas need them both? The truth is there's no war here. Just two legends carving different paths across the same state. Texas Metal brings the heat. Big horsepower, wild designs, and aggressive builds that own every inch of the spotlight. They represent modern Texas swagger. Go big. Go bold. Don't hold back. Bill Carlton and his team know how to command attention, and they've built a business that reflects it. Iron Resurrection brings the heart. Their builds are soulful, intentional, and deeply rooted in Texas heritage. They slow down, dig deep, and remind fans why cars became meaningful in the first place. Joe Martin and his crew aren't chasing trends, they're preserving history. One shop is about transformation. The other is about resurrection. And in a state where car culture is as big as the land itself, both are essential. Texas doesn't crown one king. It builds a dynasty. One that includes lifted trucks, chopped classics, frame-off restos, and chrome dreams. So who runs Texas? They both do in completely different ways. And if you're lucky enough to live in the Lone Star State, you don't have to choose. Because in Texas, garage legends don't compete. They coexist. And together, they define the